Georgia-Florida, once again, an epic game, the Florida Gators. You could tell that this team has not quit after Billy Napier was fired. They're playing for Billy Gonzalez right now. They get a lead on the Georgia Bulldogs, looking to upset yet another team in the SEC. They already beat Texas earlier this season. However, they can't get it done because Georgia, I feel like all they do is play close games. So they end up pulling it away.
Yeah, going back to your point about they don't want to call it the outdoor cocktail party anymore. They probably want people to actually remember the game. So this one was definitely memorable.
Yeah.
Georgia, as you mentioned, surviving a scare, and I mean a scare from Florida. I said on the show last week, I picked Florida. I felt really good about the upset. And honestly, you could make the argument that Florida should have won that game.
Right.
But I just think the inexperience from Billy Gonzalez kind of showed itself a little bit. And Georgia, I mean, you would much rather be a second-half team than a first-half team.
Right.
And you just mentioned to me in the break, 4 come-from-behind victories when they were trailing in the fourth quarter, just unreal. They find a way to win.
They just
and
do.
That's all you need to do in this league.
Right, exactly. And I feel like it's almost the antithesis of Auburn. Auburn, they don't play great, and they can't find whatever it takes to get them over the hump.
Yeah.
I feel like Georgia, when they don't play great, they just find ways to get over the hump. Now, I still find myself asking a question here, and I don't know if you do the same, thinking like, what is this team? Because Alabama, for example, Alabama has an identity. They play very efficient football. They don't turn the football over. Ty Simpson is a critical key playmaker. They have weapons on the outside. They play good defense. That is an attacking style defense. They take the ball away. Texas A&M, led by Marcel Reed, good in every phase. The defense is outstanding, and Marcel Reed is excellent. I feel like when you take the upper echelon of the SEC, Ole Miss. When I think Ole Miss, I think Lane Kiffin.
Yeah.
Whether it was Austin Simmons, whether it's now Trinidad Chambliss, it's an offensive-led team. They can run the football as well. They have nice weapons on the outside. Defense, maybe sometimes a little suspect. Georgia, I'm still figuring out what they are. I'm like, obviously, they got a veteran quarterback, a good offense, a good running game. The defense is kind of, they look good one week. They don't look good the next week. I'm still trying to figure out what this team is.
You know, I think it's hilarious that you can't figure out who Georgia is.
Right.
Yet you go up, I don't know how far it is, 100 miles down the road to Atlanta. You can't figure out what the Atlanta Falcons are either.
Right,
So it's
exactly.
like a Georgia-wide problem. And then Georgia Tech wants to lose to NC State and just take their own college football playoff hopes. But I think we might need to have a little bit of a conversation like, hey, is there cause for concern with this Georgia team? I know they're ranked 5th right now in the AP poll. This is the last week where the AP poll actually means something.
Correct, yeah.
After the College Football Playoff Committee rankings come out tomorrow night. But as you can see, 3 straight games decided by 1 or 2 possessions, the 2-possession one coming against Auburn on the Plains. I think the thing about this team that kind of concerns me is Kirby Smart alluded to his team like it's like a heavyweight fight. And they're just going to give you jab, jab, jab. And then they're going to wear you down until the fourth quarter, and they'll continue the jabs. The thing I'm worried about is the lack of explosive plays can be detrimental to the success of this team moving into the playoff because, as we know, explosive plays are everything in college football. And you cannot just rely on these quick 5-6 yards every single time and not have the big 30-plus yard plays because it doesn't play in college football. It can play in the NFL because you can just run the clock down and win. But it also plays with a good defense. And it feels like this year the Georgia defense is a little bit of a question. Obviously, the pass rush, we've talked about it. And if that pass rush isn't there, you can't just wear these teams down because you're going to run yourself into a wall.
Yeah, exactly. And this is a Georgia team that I have belief in Kirby Smart, and I think a lot of Kirby Smart's mentality, you see it on the field with this team because they do play fast and they play physical, but as you mentioned, not a great pass rush. They knew that going into the year. They were a young football team. I think everybody at this stage, 8 games in, you grow into your role, and so even a young team is now more seasoned and more mature going into the year. But yeah, I do feel like this is a team that is somewhat playing with fire in the sense of the way that they are playing, and you wonder if they're going to get got, so to speak, moving forward with this football team. But they play with a mental toughness that you can tell. I mean, it just shows up. It showed up in the Ole Miss game. It showed up in the Kentucky game. It showed up on Saturday against the Florida Gators as well. And also, I do feel like, with Georgia, it'll be interesting to see where the committee does slot them, because
Yes.
you have 8 games to go on so far. We know what the AP poll says, but the AP poll, largely, if you don't lose, you either maintain your spot or whatever. What the first committee poll is supposed to do is take your body of work. And so I wonder how they will judge Georgia's body of work compared to some of the other teams, compared to teams that they are behind in the polls, for example. How does it compare to Oregon's body of work and other teams that are the upper echelon of college football?
Yeah, I think there was no change in the top 6 of the AP poll this week.
Right, I think it's for the second straight week now.
And Georgia sits at number 5. I have a feeling Georgia's definitely not a first-round bye team, in my opinion.
No.
Honestly, if the SEC is going to get 2 first-round byes. That's just my opinion.
Right.
And I honestly think it's both teams that make the SEC championship game, because Texas A&M definitely deserves a bye.
For sure.
And then the second team that deserves a bye is Alabama, as long as the Tide don't lose again until maybe the SEC championship. In my opinion, you cannot make an argument. You definitely can't make an argument that Georgia's better than Alabama, because Alabama beat them
exactly head-to-head. Yeah,
in Athens. Georgia is a number 6 team. To me, I think Oregon jumps them.
Yeah. And I was actually going to do like a thought experiment here. Let's take all the one-loss teams and rank them, because Alabama and Georgia, obviously, like you said, they've played. Alabama beat Georgia.
Yes.
Alabama also has a loss of the year. So I'll take Alabama out. Let's just say Alabama is the best one-loss team by merit. Who is the next best one-loss team? You have Georgia, Oregon, Ole Miss, Texas Tech, Virginia, Louisville. All these teams that I just mentioned are in the top 15.
Yeah.
I would think maybe not as bad as Virginia, but I would think they're probably not better than Oregon. I know they beat Ole Miss, head to head. Did not look great in that game. And I think if you've played that game 10 times, Ole Miss will get a few of those. And I feel it's going to be very interesting where the committee slots them looking at their resume.
I think you've got to go Oregon over Georgia. Georgia's a close second right behind.
Right.
And then Ole Miss is an even closer second right behind.
Right.
And then you've got to go. I'm sorry, ACC. I mean, Louisville and Virginia, they're going to make it.
Right.
My projection right now is I think Louisville will play Ole Miss in round 1. And I don't know where Virginia. I think Virginia will play Georgia in round 1.
Yeah. So do you think that you said the SEC will have 2 teams get that first round bye?
Yes.
Georgia can be one of them, obviously, if they end up winning out, because they'll have a good resume. Obviously, you need some help from Texas A&M and Alabama. But do you think both the power conferences get 2 in, as in Ohio State and Indiana will represent those 2, and the SEC gets 2? Or do you think it's maybe like an Oregon or somebody else will slip in there to break it up a little bit?
You're saying in the top 5? Or in the top 4?
In the top 4, yeah.
So here's my take on who's getting the first round bye. You have to go Alabama, Texas A&M. That's just my opinion.
Right.
I think the SEC is definitely getting 2.
Yeah.
We learned this the hard way last year. You can't just give it to conference champions. Then you go Ohio State. Ohio State's going to be the number 1 overall.
Yes.
But
yeah.
Texas Tech gets the last one.
Okay.
In my opinion, Texas Tech, and it's going to come down to this week's game against BYU.
That's right. Yeah.
But the winner of that game is better than the ACC champion in my book.
No
because
question.
Carson Beck just went back to his Georgia ways. Can't stop throwing interceptions. I mean, I think he's got 6 in the last 2 games. They lost to SMU, so I think Miami's out of the playoff.
Me too.
Nice job.
I've been saying this for weeks now.
They're gone.
They are fraudulent.
Fraudulent.
I was telling them for weeks.
Sid the Sloth.
Exactly.
Fraudulent.
And I know Simone at one point was like, "What? Really? They're ranked second?" And I said, "Not
Miami
wrong."
always finds a way. I'm sorry. I don't know if we've got any Miami fans watching this. They always find a way to lose. Tank down the season.
Absolutely.
I mean, you just watched the Syracuse game last year. You win and you're in the ACC championship. But Kyle Honda McCord.
Oh, yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. We got a chance to hear from Coach Billy Gonzalez, the interim head coach for the Gators. Like you said, there was a lot of controversy here in this game. Controversial replay there. They fell on the wrong side of it. Here's Coach Gonzalez.
Well, I think the biggest piece for us is just the communication piece. And again, I think it worked really, really well. Ryan and Russ were up top in that direction. direct communication with DJ, and then obviously with Coach Spurrier down there being on the ground. I think that's all part of the process. How do you clean something up so the communication piece can be sped up? And then obviously Ryan did a really good job of getting the play off the sideline, letting me give a chance to call it to the players whenever we huddled on the sideline, and give it to me early. So it was a chance for all the coaches. We got the play out. Every coach could coach it up on the sideline before we said it again, before they actually took the field. So any of the procedures that we can speed up the way we play and allow us to play a smoother transition, I think is obviously a big piece to us not having any type of penalties.
So there's Coach Gonzalez, a Florida Gator team that has been fighting hard, and obviously you have to, love their credit them for the support they still play with, the passion and the heart they still play with. Moving over to the Georgia side of things, though, we've talked about Gunnar Stockton and the kind of quarterback that he is. And you had a great graphic last week where it was his rushing yards and just how dynamic he is, not only in the passing game but in the running game as well. Do you think that he's enough for this Georgia team to get over the hump and win the games they need to win in order to win a championship?
I think it's very interesting because, he's like that two-way guy that Carson Beck it didn't seem like. If Carson Beck was able to run more and be more effective with his legs, I think he would have been able to offset his turnovers. I mean, I think there was a point last year where Carson Beck threw 12 interceptions in 4 games, and I mean, you just cannot have that in this league. If you win the turnover battle, you are going to win games 9 out of 10 times.
Right.
And it just feels like Gunnar Stockton, he's able to take care of the ball more. And, Georgia doesn't have the explosive plays, but they're also not really turning it over.
Right.
And that definitely helps. 2 interceptions on the year. He's got 19 total touchdowns. I mean, I think 7 of them have come on the ground, 12 through the air. It's not Ty Simpson numbers. I know I compared him a little bit to Ty Simpson last week, but still, I feel like Gunnar Stockton to this point is doing enough for Georgia to win. It's, to me, it's going to come down to the latter part of the season. I know they have Texas coming up at home, and that Texas defense, Roger just talked about it. It's been beaten down, and Michael Taft's been out for a while now.
Well, it feels like 3-4 weeks now.
But Texas, again, they're going to be playing with their backs to the wall because they cannot lose again.
Yep.
Georgia can afford another loss, but they don't want to lose again because then they're definitely out of the first round bye.
Yep, exactly. And this is a really tricky, interesting game coming up here for Georgia this week because you mentioned it's Mississippi State. They got a lot of confidence now. Mississippi State won their first SEC game, went to Arkansas, got a big win there, scored 35 points. So it was another team looking for a win. The Auburn Tigers got their first win over Arkansas. Now Mississippi State got their first win over Arkansas. But earlier in the season, Tennessee took them to overtime, lost that game, 41-34.
In Starkville.
In Starkville, that's exactly right. Also Texas, that game was also in Starkville, 45-38. Another overtime game as well. Florida in the swamp, 23-21. I know there's no such thing as moral victories for this Mississippi State team, but this is a team that just continues to fight and fight and fight, and now they have some confidence going in. Very tricky game here for Kirby Smart and the guys.
Yeah, and I honestly, I looked at Mississippi State's schedule to end the year, and they could play spoiler for a few teams. Georgia could be one of them. Obviously, the Egg Bowl to end the year, that could also be a major game coming up. Florida can also play spoiler here too. So we're getting to the point of the year where you obviously want to end the year on a good note. You want to end the year with wins. But you also, if you're on the flip side playing these teams that really want wins to end the year, you can't let up because of the seasons that they've had. Mississippi State's still a good football team. Blake Shapen is still, in my opinion, in the top half of quarterbacks in the SEC. They just haven't been able to get over the hump and win. But Jeff Lebby finally got his first SEC win in his 2 years with the Bulldogs, and it's a battle of the Bulldogs this weekend.
Yep, that's exactly right. So we'll have a chance there to see if the Bulldogs can get that big win. Got a chance to hear from head coach Kirby Smart on the matchup there in Starkville.
They get after it. They're very disruptive. They confuse you with different packages. They have some different looks they use. They've got some long length. I mean, I hadn't seen this kind of length in a long time at corner and safety in terms of length allows you to tip balls, knock balls down, intercept balls. They are very lengthy and can get balls down and create havoc through what they do. But they've done a really good job this year creating those turnovers. I mean, they're plus in the margin, and anytime you're plus in the margin in our league, that's winning because it's a really competitive league in terms of turnovers.
So that's Georgia, Mississippi State, Battle of the Bulldogs. That game is in Starkville. Really interesting line. Just saw it. Opened 8.5. It's now down to 7.5. So a lot of money's coming in on Mississippi State. Could be a telltale sign of what is to go on this week. The odds makers expecting yet another close game there in Starkville.